Hey guys, Omar here, and today we're going to show you how ISO or ISO works on the Nikon Z or ZF. So let's start with where you'll see your ISO displayed. You'll usually see it on the screen here. It'll say ISO. And the first way you can change your ISO is just by using the dial at the top. You can turn the dial to which ISO you'd like. And the ISOs go from 100 to 64,000. Now, if you're using the dial, note that you cannot change your ISO with touch on the screen. Unlike the other settings, which are active, you can change them with touch, but not ISO here. You also cannot go to your I menu. If you notice, ISO is grayed out. And lastly, if you go to the menu on ISO settings, it is also grayed out. So the dial overrides any other way to change your ISO. Now, the other ways you can change ISO is if you put your dial onto the letter C, and now you can control the ISO a couple of different ways. The first way is now you'll notice that it's active on the screen, so you can actually change your ISO on the screen. If it's on your I menu, you can touch it there as well and actually change the ISO from the I menu. You can also hit the menu button, dive into ISO settings. You can touch there and also change your settings there. And the last way is to have a custom control, which is probably the easiest ways. For me, I set my movie button to the ISO setting. So if you notice right here, that is the top button. So now with that custom button, I can actually press the button, hold it down, and change the ISOs up and down. You also have the option, instead of pressing and holding the button on an icon, you could actually make it so that if you just touch it, it will activate to change. You just have to go to your F7 menu here, and it says release button to use the dial. All you have to do is turn that on. And now if I press the button, I don't have to hold it down. You can actually just press the button. It will activate your ISO, and then you can change your ISO. Personally, I like to press the button down and turn the dial at the same time. Now, if you are using the custom controls to change your ISO, you can change your ISO very quickly by just getting out of the C. And now you can actually use the dial again. Once you click onto C again, it will click back to the ISO you had. Also note you have extended ISOs available to you. If you go below 100, you'll see the word low, which gives you a couple of ISO steps below 100. And you also have high as well, which goes beyond the very top of the range. All right, let's talk about auto ISOs. This is where the camera picks an ISO for you. And right now my dial is active. It's actually pointing to a specific ISO, but you can activate auto ISO a couple of different ways. The first way is through the menu. So if you go to your menu and go to your ISO sensitivity, you will see that you can turn on ISO there. Now you'll notice that auto ISO is displayed there and it's flashing. And that just means that your camera picked an ISO that is different than what is set here as your maximum. Like it didn't pick your maximum, and it maybe didn't pick your shutter speed, although it always tries to. There it is right there. The camera in auto ISO will always, it won't pick your maximum ISO. It'll always go as low as it can based on the shutter speed you picked. The other way you can activate it is by using your custom functions. Now the thing is, once the dial is active, your custom function, remember my little custom function up here, it will not work. You actually have to put the dial on C for control. Once it clicks into C, now my auto ISO will work. Now instead of the back dial, which changed the ISO, we're just going to flick the front dial. Once we flick it, you'll see auto ISO there as well. Okay, let's turn that off. And the last way is by using the I menu. You just click your auto ISO, and here it says details, and you can turn auto ISO on using the I menu. Oops, let's do that again. I, boom, detail, on, okay. Now currently the dial is on C. If I take it off C, the dial won't do anything until I reach 3200, and then the dial can actually override the 3200 and start increasing my shutter speed. See how the ISO goes up if I'm beyond 3200? If I lower it, it will engage auto ISO again. Now picking a lower maximum ISO like 800 gives you more of the dial available to you. You can actually override 800 and pick most of the ISOs. Notice how it's raising my shutter speed in Aperture Priority mode. And then if you lower it back down, it will go back to your maximum, and the lower values are disabled. If you click the dial to see, it will just use all the auto ISOs you have here, and you can override using the touchscreen as well. One quick note on movie mode: if you're in manual mode and you go to movie mode, you have your ISOs as manual. You can actually change them. But as soon as you go to any of the other modes, like Aperture Priority for video, it defaults to auto ISO. So does Shutter Priority, and so does Program Mode, and so does Auto. All right, I hope that was helpful. I'll see you guys next time.